she said that they're dating right now. And I was like, wait, what? I thought that I was going on a date with him tonight. Good day everyone, and welcome to another storytime video. And I thought it would be interesting if I did kind of like a series about my past dating experiences, because I have dated a bit, and I have some pretty funny, crazy stories to talk about. This one in particular is the time that I dated a straight guy. So I guess without further ado, let's get on to the story. Okay, so it all started like maybe 3 years ago, I think it was. I don't even remember what year it was. Anyways, I was at the time living with Anthony and Kalel, who are fellow YouTubers. They're no longer together, RIP. But at the time they were, and I lived with them, and it was really fun. Anyways, my sister came to visit for probably like a week or so, and it was the last day that she was visiting, and I was driving her to the airport, but we were hungry, so we stopped and get food at this place called Tender Greens, which is like a salad and hot plate place. It's cute, it's nice, whatever. So anyways, we go in and we're waiting in line to get our meals, and the server is this attractive guy. He had like black hair, he was tan, a bit of facial hair, and when I went up, I like kind of gave him like a, oh, hey. And then he started like chatting me up, and I was like, oh, okay, interesting. Like, my sister's right next to me, she's like noticing it, and like he's not really talking to her, and he kind of like looked like he was like stereotypical, like a jock, like straight guy. Not that anyone looks straight or gay, but like he had very masculine features where he could pass off as a straight man. So anyways, he's like talking to me, and he's like making eye contact and like smiling and giving me that eye thing. So I'm like, oh, like maybe he thinks I'm cute. I don't know, like this is interesting. So I kind of like, we're lingering, talking for a while, and like we're holding up a bit of a line. He was like talking to me about how he just like moved here, and how he's like drives a motorcycle, and how he just started, it's his first day at Tender Greens, and I was like, oh cool, we just talked back and forth. And then finally I got to my checkout and got my plate and went to my seat, and we sit down, me and my sister, and she's like, he was totally like hitting on you. And I was like, he was? Really? And I was like, oh, damn, like I should have talked to him and get his number or something, because at this point I had been dating a while. This is post Preston Prince by probably a year, I think. Maybe like 6 months. Yeah, probably like 6 months after the whole Preston stuff, after I got back from the race. So anyways, I'm like, oh crap, what do I do? And then my sister's like, you should go give him your number. And I was like, that is so awkward. Like, I'm not just gonna go up to a stranger and be like, here's my number, when I don't even know if like he's interested, if he's even gay. So I finally, like, my sister gives me a pen and piece of paper, and I'm like writing my name and number down, and it's the most like crappy writing ever. So I get my name down, and I go to the bathroom because I'm so nervous. So like I see him, I make eye contact with him, he makes eye contact with me and smiles. I'm like, all right, okay. So he notices me, like there's something there. So I'm like, all right, just do it, Joey, it's fine. Like, what's the worst that's gonna happen? Like, if you get rejected, you get rejected, and then you never have to go to that Tender Greens again. Even though I really like that Tender Greens, but whatever. So finally muster up the courage, and I go up to the register because no one's in line, and I'm like, hey, so since you're like new in town, I wanted to like see maybe, and then I was like rambling. I was reaching for my back pocket, and he's like, yeah, you should give you my number. So I was like, oh, okay. Phew, I don't have to give you this like little piece of paper. He ends up giving me his card, which is his like modeling card. Turns out he's a model. and has like all his info, and then on the back was a photo of him like shirtless. I was like, it's a bit of a dramatic photo. So anyways, I take it, I'm like, oh my god. I like go back to the table, I talk to my sister, I'm like, oh my god, he gave me his number, I didn't have to give him mine, he likes me. So I end up driving my sister to the airport, and I'm like, when do I text him? She's like, just text him now. So I don't, I wait till I get home, go into my bedroom, and I'm like, all right, what do I say? What do I do? Like, what do I do? Blah, 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 blah. So I think I text my friend Whitney, and I'm just like, Whitney, I met this guy, like, what should I text him? And she's like, oh, like, just ask him if he wants to get, like, coffee or sometime. And so I do. I text him, like, hey, I was wondering, like, would you want to get, like, coffee or drinks sometime? That's what it was, coffee or drinks. And he, like, texted me an hour later, and he was still at work, like, this is the same day. So, he texted me back, and he's like, yeah, I'd love to, are you around tonight? And I was like, oh my god, tonight? Yeah, sure, okay. So I was like, do I play it off, like, hard to get? Or do I go on a date with, like, a guy that I just met? And I was like, you know, what the heck, like, yeah, there's clearly, like, a small connection here if we, like, both were, like, smiling at each other. So I'm like, okay, we'll just do it. So we end up meeting up at this place called Earth Cafe, which was my absolute favorite freaking restaurant. It still could be, I just don't go there that often anymore. He tells me before, he's like, oh, I also don't drink coffee or alcohol. So I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I guess we could get tea there. Oh, and then I completely forgot about this. He texted me and he was like, hey, do you want to smoke weed before we go? And I was like, that is the weirdest thing to ask, like, someone. Like, I don't even know you. Like, why are you asking me to, like, smoke weed before a date? Like, it was just so bizarre. But I said no. I was like, no, I don't smoke. And he's like, yeah, me either. I just, I have some, and I wanted to get rid of it, so I thought, like, we could just smoke it. And it's like, oh, okay, so that's, like, a red flag. I don't date people who smoke, but I was like, whatever, I'm already, like, on my way there. So we go there, we sit down, we start talking, and I slowly start to pick up on the fact that he only wants to talk about himself. There was, like, no times he was really asking about me. He was just going on a whole spiel about his past and what he does, his aspirations, which is totally fine. Like, it's just nice to, like, reciprocate questions sometimes and be like, oh, so what about you? But there never was those points, and it was always me being like, oh yeah, like me, like, well, I did this and that. And he, like, whenever, like, I would be talking about myself, he would kind of just, like, zone out, and I was like, oh, this is so annoying. So I was kind of like, all right, this is not gonna work out. Like, he's an attractive guy, but it's just, there's no chemistry. Like, he's just all about himself. And so then he goes on about how he wants to audition for this reality show, and I was like, oh, I actually was, like, on The Amazing Race. Totally over his head, like, he's heard of the show, but he just wasn't even, like, paying attention. He was like, oh, yeah. And then, like, oh, and by the way, like, my Instagram. And so he takes his phone out, opens his Instagram page, and is showing me all his, like, old pictures. He's, like, going down, he's like, oh, I really want my abs to look like this again. And I was like, damn, we got a nice body. But it was so, like, such a turn off, the fact that he was, like, showing me pictures of him shirtless and being like, oh, like, I'm, like, big in the gym, like, I love to work out, and, like, here's my pictures. And it's like, I'll find out later when I take your shirt off. I don't need to see it now. No, just kidding. So I'm like, oh, this date is awful. Like, it's, like, the worst date ever. It's like, oh, I could use this for, like, a story later down the road of the worst date ever. But the next thing that happened was he, like, texted his friend, and his friend showed up, and I was like, whatever, like, this date's clearly over. Like, he's not, like, there's not a good match. So his friend shows up, and I'm just like, I really want to go home. Like, this is so stupid. So then he's like, what are you doing later? And I was like, and I couldn't think of an excuse to be like, oh, I have, like, a plan or something. So he's like, you should just come over, come home with us. And I was like, oh my god, he's, like, already invited me to his house on the first date. This is weird. So we end up, I'm just like, So crazy. I was just like, you know what? I only live once. Like, I'm just gonna go for it, see what happens, like, see what craziness is gonna happen. So, like I said, I was living with Kalel, and we had Find Your Friend app, which can tell you where you guys are with each other. Like, you can, it's almost like a GPS for your friends. You can see where they are, you're tracking them. So we had that just because, like, in case we were ever, like, away or doing something, we could just see where people were, just for safety precautions. So I texted her, I was like, hey, I'm going to this guy's house, I don't really know him, which I highly suggest if you're ever in that situation and you're going to someone you don't really know his house, text someone where you're going. I asked him for the address, so I texted her just in case, like, when my friend's app didn't work, they threw my phone out the window. So I ended up taking my car to his place, straight from the coffee date. He took his motorcycle, which was kind of attractive. I don't really care about what people drive or whatever. So we get to his place, and I'm just like, oh, this is so weird. I've never done anything like this. I'm like so nervous. Like, what is he planning on doing? Like, we're going to his house. So we go in, his roommates are there, I meet them, and they're all like drinking in the kitchen. And so his roommates are like, oh, like, let's take shots. So we end up taking shots. He said that I should give him a name. So I'll call him Ben. Ben, yeah, that's a good name. So Ben told me that he doesn't drink. So he ends up taking the shot, and his friends are like, oh, cool, like, he's drinking tonight. That's crazy. So we end up taking a few shots, and then his roommates go out for the night, and they're off doing their thing, so it's just me and him in the apartment. So we pop in a DVD. I don't even remember what it was, but I just like felt like really like scared, like, what's going on? Like, what is gonna happen? Like, he's already invited me to his house, like, what's next? So we end up like sitting on the couch, like, he brings out a blanket, we're like sitting next to each other, watching the movie, and then it turns into like getting closer and closer and like leaning into each other until it turns into like, oh, let's just lay down. So we lay down, we cuddle for a bit, movie's over, and then he's like, do you want to spend the night? And I was like, definitely not. I wouldn't ever like sleep over the first date. So it's like, no, I actually have to go, like, I have plans in the morning, but it was nice to hang out. And when we were at his apartment, he was totally a different person from when we were on the like coffee date. So I was like, oh, maybe he was just nervous at the coffee date, like he didn't know how to talk like a normal person, like having a conversation. And maybe he just felt more comfortable at his house, because his attitude changed. He was like inclusive with me and his friends, and it felt better. So I was like, oh, maybe like this could work out. So I ended up going home, and this is gonna be such a long video. We're not even to the craziest parts. So I'm gonna try and like speed this up. We ended up dating a few more times, like going on dates. And one time he like texted me to come over to his house because we were gonna go get food after, and I was gonna pick him up. So he's like, oh, just come in. And he's like, but I'm just jumping in the shower right now. And this is like while I'm on the way there. So I'm like, is he like wanting me to like walk in on him like coming out of the shower naked? And I was like, I'm not gonna do that. Like, this is like a little too weird. He's like, just come in my apartment and come in my room. I was like, no, I'm just gonna wait outside. And I waited long enough for it was clear that he wouldn't still be in the shower. So anyways, I just thought that was like a weird side note thing. A couple more dates go by. I finally like invite him to hang out with me, Kalel, and Anthony, and he pulls the same thing again as the first date. He's just talking about himself, and I was just kind of like embarrassed at the fact. But we end up going down to my bedroom, watching a movie, and I'm like, all right, we still haven't kissed yet, so like I'm a little confused about that. So finally I make the first move and kiss him. We start making out for a bit, and then he stops me, and he's like, wait, before we like continue, like I just wanna like, I need to tell you something. And I was like, oh, okay, like, does he have like a disease? Like, what does he have to tell me? And then he's like, I've never kissed a boy before. And I was like, what? Like, I was so shocked because I, like, kind of initially thought he was almost like a man whore, like asking me to sleep over the first night. So I was like, oh, he must have, like, sleep with guys all the time and, like, kissing them. So I was, like, totally shocked that he had never kissed a guy before. And so I was like, oh, yeah, like, of course, like, we don't have to do anything. Like, if you're not comfortable with kissing, that's fine. He was like, no, I like kissing you. It's just like, I want to take this slow. And I was like, yeah, of course, definitely. So anyways, we ended up dating for a little bit longer. And then I was just like, it was getting to a point where he was just so much about himself. And like, it was like the first date on repeat. Like, he only cared about himself. It was always about like, blah, 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 me, ben. So I was like, finally sent him a breakup text, and I was like, listen, like, this just isn't working out. Like, I feel like you're constantly talking about yourself, and you never really question about me and like what I want to do and these things. And his response was so weird. He's like, yeah, no, that's totally cool. I kind of saw you as a brother anyways. And I was like, oh, okay. So then like a few weeks pass and he starts like texting me, like hitting me up again, like wanting to like hang out. And I'm just like kind of like blowing it off, like really don't want to do this. But then he's like, I apologize, like I'm not that same person, like can we try this again? And so I'm like, all right, fine. So we try it again, we date, and then he tells me on the date that he's leaving for a year for a modeling abroad thing. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So he ends up leaving for a year, and throughout the year he would randomly send me like dick pics, and I'd be like, this is so like strange, like who sends their brother dick pics? So I always thought that was really strange. And then he came back, and then he like was hitting me up again. He's like, hey, like it would be cool to hang out. And I was like, yeah, it'd be cool to catch up, see how his trip was. End up going on a few more dates, and then I have to leave for the Amazing Race for the second time. And then I end up getting eliminated fairly soon, so I end up spending a lot of time in Thailand. And so I'm like lonely as F on Thai Island. So I'm like thinking about the last person that I had like a connection with. So I'm thinking about Ben, and I'm like, oh, well, maybe when I get back, like things will be different. And so I get back, I'm like excited to like try things again. We go on a few more dates, and then he's like, oh, it'd be really cool if we went to an event together. It's this like party. You can invite a friend. I'm bringing one of my friends. So I invite my friend Whitney, and he invites this girl who's like this redheaded chick. And at this point, I'm living with Sawyer now. So we're at Sawyer's house. We end up going into my car, all four of us, and they're in the back, me and Whitney in the front, and they're like giggling in the back, and I'm like, what the heck is going on back there? Like, this is weird. So I'm like asking, I'm like, so when did you guys meet? Like, how did you guys meet? And they're like being all sketchy about it, like, oh, we met like a few months ago. And I was like, okay, interesting. So we end up getting to the event, and we're all hanging out, we take shots, and Whitney has to go to the bathroom, and the girl that Ben brought goes with her. And so they're in the bathroom talking, and me and Ben are like chatting and like talking about stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, like this is cool, like we're gonna rekindle stuff. And so Whitney comes back from the bathroom, and she's like, we need to talk right now. So she pulls me off to the side, and she's like, I just talked to the girl that Ben brought, and she said that they're dating right now. And I was like, wait, what? I thought that I was going on a date with him tonight, and we were just bringing our friends. Like, I was so confused. So I was like, oh my god, okay, well I have to play this off cool. Like, what do I do? So I was just like, you know what? Like, I'm not gonna let this boy ruin my night. So I end up just ignoring him for the rest of the night, and I'm like talking to other guys. I'm like trying to find like other guys to talk to. So I find like someone, nothing ever happened with. And we start like talking, and then Ben comes over and is like, hey, what's going on? Like, blah, blah. And I'm just like, I'm done with you. So we end up sobering up like later in the night. I drive us all home, and I'm just like, okay, this is over. So I'm just like ignoring Ben. He keeps like texting me after, and then finally like 2 weeks later, like I'm like, all right, stop texting me. So I finally just confronted him like, listen, I'm really confused because like I thought that we were like going on a date. We had just been on a few dates since I got back from the race. Like, what's going on? And he was like, oh my gosh, Joey, I'm so sorry that like you got confused. So I am no longer gay. I don't want to have that a part of my life. Like, I just want to be straight now. And I was like, oh, so you're choosing to be straight. Okay, because it was just a very confusing thing. So I was like, whatever, like enjoy your life pretending to be someone that you're not. I wasn't even out at that point, so I could understand to an extent. It just like really hurt my feelings because I was like excited to like restart things with this guy, but it was obvious that it was not meant to be for many reasons. So apparently he's straight now. I haven't talked to him since. It's been a few years, but I wish him all the luck with everything that he wanted to do in his life. And yeah, that's the story of how I dated a straight guy. So that was a super long video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. That way I know that you want me to do more storytime videos. I have a lot more guy stories. So if you want to hear that, hit that like button. And that's all for today's video. I love you. I will see you all tomorrow. Good damn bye. I don't know how I like this.
Mine tastes like cotton candy. It's really not that good.
Okay, next one. Let's do gummy roses.
Oh. They look like...
Oh, these are thick.
Oh, Mario. Get in there! Oh, you stupid people poo-poo platter. How do you freaking miss this? Like, there's nowhere to... Oh, I lost.
Game over, thanks for playing.